Welcome to Big Fight Recap, guys. I'm George Jakovic, along with the champs, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, and the champion, Hall of Famer, ESPN analyst, Tim Bradley. Guys, the day of reckoning is over. We had a day of some pretty big men in the ring. We had a day of a huge upset. Tim, let's go right to the upset, man. Saudi Arabia, former heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder was absolutely dominated by former heavyweight champ Joseph Parker. Let's start there, Tim.
Man, I'm just gonna tell you this. Wilder looked terrible. Terrible. I don't know if it was something mental. It could be, the fact that you had Joseph Parker, who's teamed up with Fury, and maybe he was thinking about that through the course. Maybe he thought that Joseph Parker had something for him. But Joseph Parker, to me, was posturing. He was acting like he was gonna do something. He was setting things up, looking for the big overhand right. One of the things that I did notice was Parker was standing his ground, but he was standing on the outside, either all the way in or all the way out. But when he was on the outside, he was being extremely patient. He was testing the patience of Deontay Wilder. He was expecting him to come in. And usually what happens is Deontay Wilder shoots that double jab, shuffles his feet, then he comes back with the right hand. He didn't do it as often because he was afraid what was going to happen to him, because Joseph Parker, again, was being extremely patient. Now, when he did throw the right hand, Joseph Parker, what he did was he slipped his head on the inside. He slipped it on the inside, and he was able to avoid that right hand from Deontay Wilder. And he was looping his right hand also, at the right time, and then he was blitzing at the right time. So, but ultimately, I'll just tell you this. The game plan from Deontay Wilder from the beginning was trash. I know Malik Scott, good dude, good, a great guy. Knows boxing. He talks about boxing all the time. I've heard him, strategize about boxing, but this game plan that I saw from Deontay Wilder, bagging up, moving, using his feet, moving lateral movement, for what? For what, Deontay Wilder? For what, Malik Scott? To beat a Joseph Parker, you have to take it to him. You got to make him fight. Simple as that. He didn't do that. Upset happened. It is what it is.
Chris, I think a lot of us thought it was going to be a tough fight, but nobody thought it was going to be domination, and that's what it was.
I mean, listen, if you go back and listen to what we did leading up to this fight, I expected Parker to be a lot of trouble for Deontay Wilder. Wilder doesn't look good until he's knocking you out. And Parker is a very durable guy. He's a savvy guy, and he's been in with top-level opposition. He went 12 rounds with Anthony Joshua. So I expected this fight actually to go the distance. I wasn't expecting him to win, especially the way he did. He could win every single round. But, yeah, I'm not that surprised. I mean, Parker is a very durable guy. He's a very sturdy guy. He's very good. He's classy, he's tricky, and all those things he utilized to win this fight. And I'm going to disagree with Tim. I think he fought the smart fight. On the outside, he didn't do much. Yeah, you don't have to do much against Wilder. You got to survive. But on the inside, he landed some shots. He had that overhand right. He dipped and throw that over looping shot, which is what you do against a taller guy. He jabbed with Wilder. First round, I was like, okay, this guy's here, and he's not afraid of Wilder's power, because he wasn't. Was never afraid the entire night. I'm not super surprised, but I guess I'm surprised with the decision, because I expected it to be more competitive, and it wasn't. And then the fact that Parker was able to literally dominate every single round, and then get to the final bell and be like, what are we questioning? Like, you're not that guy. That was surprising to me. Parker is a very good fighter. He's world class. He's always been that guy who's just below. Couldn't beat the top guys, but he did tonight. And he beat Wilder, who is one of those guys that we look at as being in the top 4 of this heavyweight division. But I don't know. In hindsight's always 20/20, right? Now, hindsight, I'm not that surprised, because Wilder is one of those guys who is so fantastic he's so explosive. He's so dangerous. He has poison in his right hand. And when he can land it, he ends fights. He didn't land it tonight. And he fought a guy in Joseph Parker who was savvy enough to not get hit with that shot. And he was also smart enough to fight on the outside and the middle distance in a way that you couldn't give Wilder rounds. So it was a shutout because Parker was savvy enough and smart enough to fight at the right distance. And when he was in the right distance, because a lot of guys don't do that. A lot of times it's a battle of real estate. If you can get on the inside with a guy, you got to do something. And a lot of guys don't. Parker did. And so you got to tip your hat to Parker. He's a world-class guy. And he always has been. He just has never been able to beat one of the world-class guys. He did tonight. And it just shows you how detrimental to anyone's career, whether they're young or at the top of the sport, how bad being out of the ring matters. Yep. Wilder has not been active. He has had one round in 2.5 years, and it showed. His footwork looked shit. His ability to take punches did look shit. And Parker, who fought 56 days ago, looked confident, in control, looked like he knew what he was doing, looked like he had a plan. And against Wilder, honestly, the plan is always the plan. Don't get hit with the right hand. Now he doesn't have a right hand. I'm sorry, a jab. He doesn't have a jab anymore. He's got a right hand. And Parker's ability to take the jab away and to not get hit with the jab, not get lulled into a right hand, was the difference. So, yeah, did Parker deserve the decision? Of course he did. He won almost every round.
Paulie.
And it hurts, the March fight, obviously, because Parker did what he wanted to do. And it made Wilder look like a guy who does not deserve to be in the March fight. But this is boxing, so God knows what's going to happen. But tip my hat to Parker. He fought the right fight.
Paulie, tell us what you saw. All right, we're not getting Paulie's audio. Paulie, we're not hearing you.
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
So the two champs already brought out a lot of the points. I'm not gonna overanalyze it, but I'll say this. I feel like Wilder looked old. I feel like he didn't have a lot of desire. He's 38 years old. 38 to 31 years old as opposed to 28 to 21 years old is a big difference. 28 years old to 21 years old, probably the 28-year-old has it because he's still in his physical prime, but he has the experience that more than the 21-year-old has it. But at 38 years old, your experience actually becomes age. And at 31 years old, you probably still have a lot left, especially for a heavyweight, It seemed like the inactivity also, like both guys were talking about, also is a big difference. I just didn't see Wilder hungry. I never really felt like he went for it. It seems like he's kind of past it. He's got a lot going on in his life. He's been very, very successful. He sounded happy and satisfied even after the defeat. He didn't sound really dejected. He didn't sound like it bothered him. I mean, this kind of thing happens, You get a little older, and you have other things going on in your life, and you're just not as competitive anymore. You just prioritize a lot of other things, I realized when I stopped crying after losses in my career that I knew the desire had kind of left me, And Wilder, I'm not saying Wilder would cry or not after losses, but he definitely didn't look like he was disappointed in any way after that fight. He was just like, it happens. I've been blessed and all this other stuff, which of course he has. But at the same time, I didn't see a hungry guy. I didn't see a guy who was willing to go for it. And he didn't have to go for it in his mind because he's already accomplished a lot and he's very comfortable and he's not going to put himself at risk. While for Parker, it's a very, very big win. Like Chris said, he's been a guy who's come up just short against the biggest names. But at the same time, this win right here is the biggest of all wins. Although it's not he's been heavyweight champion before with a WBO title. I worked the fight when he fought with Joshua, and he really just couldn't get himself going in that fight. Joshua really took control of the ring. But Parker's always been very savvy. You've always looked at Wilder's opponents as they kind of give it up after being ahead of him in the fight. Some of Wilder's opponents have been ahead of him, and then they kind of give it up. They can't stay disciplined. Parker, with his ex-world champion craftsmanship that he has, you kind of always knew he was never just going to give Wilder the knockout. He always had that in him where he could be savvy in there and maneuver his way through the ring and through the rounds, and he did that. I'd love for somebody to teach some heavyweights to cut off the ring. I think it would have made it more fun. Jarrell Miller couldn't cut off the ring for his life against Dubois early on when he had the advantage. Parker, nonetheless, having won, also couldn't cut off the ring for his life against Wilder. Definitely make it more interesting if somebody would teach a heavyweight in the year 2023 to cut off the ring when it's necessary, but you just don't see it.
Yeah, Paulie, I got a quick question for you, and actually for Tim as well. Like, did they pick the wrong guy? Parker, it has always been a world-class guy, and he's a very durable guy and a tough guy, and he's savvy. He's not a slouch.
No.
So did they pick the wrong guy for this fight?
Go ahead, Tim.
No, they picked the right guy. Again, if you look at Parker's losses, who did he lose to? He lost to guys that were aggressive, guys that came forward. Wilder didn't come forward. Wilder was fighting off his back foot. When have we seen Wilder fighting off his back foot? Think about that now. Fury pushed him back, and that's why Fury had success. Wilder went back by himself. He wasn't forced backwards. He went back trying to box and use lateral movement and trying to be just like spectacular boxer and didn't know what the hell he was doing. Preparation. You got to study film. Malik Scott, you got to study film. You don't beat Parker by going backwards. You beat Parker by going forward. You got to force him to a firefight. Parker has heart. He can box, he can be savvy, but at the same time, he'll take risk and he'll fight back. And that's going to favor a Deontay Wilder. But that wasn't the plan going in. So I'm going to ask you guys, that strategy that Deontay Wilder was using, were you feeling that strategy from the openings, from the start of the bell, him getting on his back foot?
I don't think he had a strategy. I think Parker took what you just said. I think he just said, hey, I'm going to go after this guy. I'm not afraid of him. First round, I said, whoa, Parker's not afraid of him. This might be a problem. And he fought like an unafraid fighter all throughout, from literally from the opening bell. And that was an issue. And I thought that about Parker from the beginning. He's a durable guy. He's a strong guy. He's a physically dominant guy. I mean, listen, Parker was 30 pounds heavier than Deontay's 213. I know we always talk about Deontay's power, but he's 213. Parker's 240 something, 245, 244, whatever, doesn't matter. He's a real heavyweight. That's a 30-pound difference. And he fought that way. He came forward and he said, listen, I'm not afraid of your power. I'm going to get in your face. But that's how you beat Deontay Wilder. If you're not afraid of him, he wasn't afraid from round 1 to round 12. And I think that was a big, big, big attribute about Parker in that fight.
It was.
He never fought scared.
You want to know why, though? You want to know why? Because he had the secret from Tyson Fury. He understood because Tyson Fury taught him or showed him how to beat him.
Get him.
Yes.
Get him.
Don't beat him. You got to force him on his back foot.
Listen, guys, let's get George DiMattalis in here. We're talking day of reckoning. We're talking some upsets, some beat downs in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But we got George DiMattalis in the studio. We're looking professional. We got a studio. We do things remote. We do things right here at ProBox. George DiMattalis, what do you got for us?
What's up, everyone? What a card in Saudi Arabia. And, of course, the chat is blowing up as usual here on Big Fight Recap Live after the Day of Reckoning. So let's read some of the chats here. We start with Bobert Fish Sticks. He says, Parker was no slouch. Easy fade in Wilder, especially at plus 480. Panamaniac said, a boxer that's been busy all year versus a one-trick pony who fought one round in 2 years. Come on now. That's Panamaniacs with the comment there. And then Drummers Against Sticks says, ProBox TV has been doing the best production, commentary, and presentation for our sport, boxing. You're doing a tremendous job. Thank you very much, Drummers Against Sticks. And we have a super chat already. Marco Matis, $9.99. Marco, thank you very much for the super chat. It says here, in my opinion, this is where Wilder needed Mark Breland. Malik has Dante on his back foot and fighting at range. That makes his right hand very obvious. Where was the jab? Love the show, champs. I heard you say something, Tim. Go ahead. Comment on Marco's.
Tim, speak, please.
No, it's right. That's right. Mark Breland. Great trainer. He fired him. He fired the best asset in his entire team. A guy that's going to be truthful with him. A guy that was trying to save his life when he was fighting against Tyson Fury. Understand that. And then he get with Malik Scott. And no offense to Malik. Malik has done a good job. But tonight was a terrible job, in my opinion. And yes, we can talk about the inactivity. We can talk about the fact that he's only done one round. But I've been seeing this guy in the gym training, working hard over and over, days, putting the time in, you know. But I'm just saying the strategy from the get-go, from the jump, was the wrong strategy. And that tells me that you didn't study film. You did not study film, because you create openings with a guy like Parker. You push him back. You make him move and get in certain positions where it's not or disadvantageous for him. You force him into positions with that power, and you come forward and you be dominant on him. Because if you allow him to sit back and think, you never want to let a guy like Paulie Malignaggi sit back and just think on you. You always got to try to push the envelope with a Paulie Malignaggi. Same thing with Parker. Same thing with you, champ. They let you think, anybody let you think, you're going to pick them to pieces. And that's exactly what happened to Wilder tonight.
Damn, I want to piggyback off of what you said with Breland as well. I remember I'm friends with Brian Adams, who's an ex-lightweight contender, and he was very close to Breland. And I remember years ago, Brian watching me spar one time, and I wasn't using my jab the way I was supposed to use it. And he told me something Breland told him. He said, no matter what, you never let anybody take away your jab. Your jab, you never allow anyone to take away your jab. Because sometimes, you know, there's reasons where you start to hesitate on your jab. He goes, no matter what, make the adjustment. Do not let anybody take away your jab. Wilder not only let Parker take away his jab, he never used it tonight at all. He gave it up to begin with. And a Wilder with no jab, especially tonight, a Wilder with a jab would have been useful. The jab tonight would have been useful because it would have backed up Parker. It would have kept Parker thinking. A couple of times that Wilder used it. He used it once, a couple of double jabs. Parker would back up off it, parry it, and then nothing was coming back. He wasn't able to close the range. Wilder wouldn't hold his ground, and it would be just the same mumbo jumbo all over again. An inconsistent jab from Wilder prevented him from landing that big right hand against a crafty guy like Parker. You got a crafty guy like Parker. He's not going to give you the right hand. He's not Luis Ortiz, who's just trying to chase you down and trying to knock you out, and he ran into a right hand when he was up 6-0. Parker was not going to make that mistake. Parker was never going to make that mistake. You were going to have to set up Parker from the moment that contract was signed with him. Parker is too crafty, too savvy to just give you that knockout. You were always going to have to set him up. And like Tim said earlier, champ, you were right. You know, the way you beat Parker is you got to back him up. Well, you needed that jab tonight, and Wilder, it was non-existent from a consistent point of view.
Hey, champs, let me ask you a question, because I saw something that I don't know if a lot of people saw during the telecast. Wilder was constantly working on his glove, especially his left hand. It looked like he was pushing on his glove in between moments. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, for one, it's a tell, but also, was there something going on with the left hand? Because he throws so few jabs in this fight. To me, it was like, what are we doing? You guys talk about, you know, his former trainer, who is Mark Breland, who is a phenomenal fighter and very similar body type to Wilder, just obviously like 100 pounds lighter. But he was a very good jabber. And when he was working with Breland, he had a great jab. And his jab was a problem. There was no jab tonight. And it wasn't like he started with a jab and then got away from it. But also, I saw him playing with his glove quite a bit in the middle rounds. I was wondering if maybe that was an issue. Maybe he had hurt the jab, hurt the hand, the left hand, playing with his glove a lot. Regardless, it is one of those things that whether his hand was hurt or not, it's a tell. And you can't do that at the highest level. Tim, I know you know what I'm talking about. Paulie, I know what you're talking about. You can't do those kinds of things at this level with a guy like Parker. And Parker might be the kind of guy that I think a lot of people overlook, but he's world class. Like you said, Paulie, he is a savvy guy, and he would take up all of those kind of things. Deontay did that quite a bit, and he didn't jab. So did you guys notice that? Do you think that was a part of the issue? I don't know. Like I'm throwing things out there right now because
I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm trying to figure out why he did not jab at all.
It was the game plan that he had, lateral movement. I mean, if you go back and you watch the film,
Wilder.
Wilder. It was part of the game plan. Just move laterally. You're going to run him into something. We're going to keep moving laterally. Keep picking up your feet. Don't stay in front of him no longer than 2 seconds at a time. You know, use your,
But there was
use
no
your
setup.
jab. But he didn't look. He was trying to jab off his back foot, but the problem was that Parker wasn't committing. He was staying outside. Parker was
He didn't
being
need to. He was being smart.
exactly. That was it. But to me, it almost seemed to me that like he was scared. He was
Parker.
tormented. Wilder.
Wilder.
Yes, Wilder. He was scared. He was scared to engage. It almost seemed like he was scared to get hit.
Well, he got hit.
Like, I'm telling
He
you
got
right
hit.
now, like Fury did something to this guy. Fury did something to this guy. And the fact that Fury was connected to this guy did something to him mentally.
So you're
in
saying
this
it was
fight.
more psychological
guys.
than
Oh
technical?
hell yeah, it was. It was
Guys,
both.
we got some super chats. I want to get them
Go
in
ahead.
because we tell the fans to become part of the show. Dogface says, Owen Marcinek here, trying to be an amateur boxer. Just discovered all of you, and you guys inspire me so much to become a fighter. Love you, Paulie. Your energy is dope. I'd love to spar you. So there you go. Troller Bader says, Deontay has always been limited and cherry-picked opposition. He ducked Vlad. Vlad. Fury defense is also massively overrated, been dropped 7 times. And we've got one from G. Jesus 051. Wilder's power is overrated. Easy take KO, blow up cruiserweights like other men, and weak title holders like Stavern after 2-year layoff. Couldn't stop Fury, who got dropped by Cunningham. So, guys, there's some chats. Listen, we're going to talk about some other fights too, but I think the last thing to touch on with Wilder, Tim, back in 2015 when he beat Bermain Stavern, he went 12 rounds for the first time. He actually showed some levels to his game. It looked like he was more than just a guy who relied on his right hand. That was 2015. He seems to have regressed to the point where he's just got that right hand, and tonight he just refused to throw punches.
Refused to throw punches, couldn't land the shot, wasn't confident in himself to throw the shot and land the shot, didn't have any versatility in his offense. You would think you've been in the gym that damn long that you will learn how to throw a hook, a lead left hook, at least a body shot, you know, an uppercut, a looping right hand. I mean, you got that. You got the straight right hand, but damn, show some variation in your combination. He was just so predictable tonight. You know, it's shameful. It's shameful, absolutely shameful. But to your point, let me go down another lane real quick. Like, you get to a certain point in your career. I remember on the back end of my career where, you know, I was all about the competition. I was about the competition. But once you start making that serious money, you start making that 25 and that 30 million, and you got a bank full of money. You know what I'm saying? And you can drive. You're driving in Bentleys. You going to eat at the best restaurants. Your kids are decked out, looking nice. You start believing your own hype, one, and you stop working as hard as you used to work. You know, and when you get in these fights, it starts to become more about the money than more about the competition. So Wilder, I think at the end of the fight, I didn't really hear what he said, but I can recall remembering him saying something like that he thought he pretty much won. He had his hand raised like he won the fight. No, you didn't. You're absolutely delusional. No, you didn't win the fight. But in his mind, he's thinking that, hey, all I have to do is get to the 12th round. I got Anthony Joshua. He's thinking about Joshua. I already got Anthony Joshua. He thought that the boxing world was going to do that thing that they always do, that robbery stuff, and it didn't happen. It backfired on him. He thought all he had to do was get to the decision. Well, you know, it didn't work out that way for him, you know, but what I'm trying to tell you guys is that he was there for the paycheck. He wasn't there to win the fight, because if he was there to win the fight, the game plan would have changed from round one. From round one, after round one to round two, he would have got more aggressive, and he didn't do that until the last round.
And you talked about activity versus inactivity. Paulie, AJ in the main event, he's been an active fighter. This is his 3rd fight of the year, and he pretty much dominated Wallin, and the fight was stopped at the end of the 5th round. So tell me about AJ's performance.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show you how much the activity matters, and it also goes to show you how that the jab of Wilder, I want to finish up on Wilder before going into AJ. The jab of Wilder being non-existent also has to do with that inactivity. You know what I mean? You talk about the Bermain-Stavern fight. He jabbed the hell out of Bermain-Stavern that night, man. I mean, I worked that fight. That jab was on point that night. It was pumping. It was a rhythmic jab, and it was firing on all cylinders. He needed the jab tonight to deal with a guy as crafty as Parker. He needed that kind of setup to try to disguise the right hand that he just thinks he's going to land it and it's going to be over. Yeah, I get it. I get that you land the right hand and it's going to be over. But if you don't set it up properly from the proper distance, it ain't going to happen. And again, a guy like Parker was never going to give it to you. Now I worked both Joshua's fight against Parker, and I saw how Joshua beat him when Parker had the WBO title and Joshua took it from him. And then I also worked that Bebane-Stavern fight for Deontay as well. So I've seen these guys in that regard, and the amount of regression from Wilder. I look at it like, yeah, Tim makes a good point about maybe he's some psychological about Tyson Fury's team, but I think it's more Tim's other point about you're comfortable, you made the money, you don't really want to. You're 38 years old, more importantly, which is something that comes over you when you're a little bit older, where you're like, I'm kind of settled, I'm satisfied. I don't know if I have to take all these chances and risk myself getting hurt, and then I can't enjoy what I've worked so hard for, And that's what it kind of looked like to me. He just never really set it up, He never even tried to. For me, he never tried to win the fight. A little bit in the 12th round, he tried. He literally never tried to win the fight. He showed up for the check thinking, man, if they give it to me, they probably give it to me. They rob me. And you know what? They'll rob him. But he looked so bad, they couldn't even rob Parker. He looked that bad. You know what I mean? But it would have been the worst decision in boxing history if they would have robbed Parker today. So kudos to the judges for getting it right. On the point of AJ actually looked very confident. AJ has something to prove still. You see what I'm saying? AJ has made all that money. AJ's probably made more money than Wilder, but AJ still has that chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove in his mind. He's kind of probably pissed off about all the criticism. He's pissed off about the way people have talked about him, and he looks hesitant and all this other stuff. He took control of center ring from the get-go today and looked more confident than I've seen him in a while. I felt he did this against Usyk as well in the rematch. Just Usyk was so good that he was able to pull away late in that fight. But I felt like AJ tried to also take control of the fight with Usyk in the rematch. He really made a big effort. But today he went back to that mindset, like, you know what? I've really got to overcome this and be the boss in there. And he fought like the boss. And he was sharp. The right hand was firing on all cylinders. Maybe Ben Davidson is the guy he's got to keep. I don't know, because they had him firing on all cylinders, very, very sharp, and looked very, very good to me. Wallin, who we've seen both beat Gassiev and also make Tyson Fury look very bad, couldn't get going from the start. I mean, he never had an answer. I mean, he looked intimidated. Once Joshua started landing those shots, he never really got going. I felt like Wallin could have at least given some feints or given some different looks. Instead, he was like a deer in headlights. Once that right hand was landing and Joshua was firing that counter right hand on all cylinders. One thing the commentators didn't say, that is the same counter right hand that knocked out Charles Martin when Joshua won the heavyweight title. Same exact against the southpaw, that hold your ground, slip and roll right hand, counter right hand. Joshua loves to use that against southpaws. Again, Usyk's rhythm was too messed up for him to really get the timing on it. But we've seen Joshua have that in his arsenal against Charles Martin, and it got the first round knockout there. Tonight it was on point as well, and it really had Wallin overthinking and doubting himself and created that hesitancy that allowed Joshua to boss it even more and continue to take it to him. And I really like the way Joshua looked. I did not expect him to look this good. I figured both of the main event and co-main event opponents were live, but from one side, Parker blew away Wilder in a one-sided decision in a fight that Wilder didn't even try to win the fight. But yet, the money cannot be an excuse. Even though it does happen, the money cannot be an excuse. And AJ is living proof of that. AJ has made more money than Deontay Wilder. Yet he fought tonight like, I still got something to prove. I'm hungry. I want to go get what I deserve and what I want to be. I want the claim to what I want to be. And he fought like that tonight. And now AJ's back in the picture. I'd love for AJ to be able to fight somebody like Ergovich, or maybe an all British class with Dubois. Dubois may have gotten himself in the picture tonight. Ergovich, I believe, deserves some big fights. Zhang, who he beat, has gotten some big fights off the win over Joyce and stuff. So the heavyweight division is alive. I just hope that it doesn't get played around with. That's why you need the Saudis in this thing. You need the Saudis because they bring in the big money to where Joshua will be able to fight guys like a Zhang or a Ergovich or Dubois. I think the money would create itself even in England. But guys like that, they also deserve to be in the mix. And sometimes when a guy has a big name like Joshua, sometimes the business doesn't allow it for the certain matchups to happen, even if deserving guys are in the mix and could make it. So I think the Saudis, having the kind of money they have the ability to make these kind of matchups. And I think the heavyweight division needs them because we've been kind of stagnating a little bit.
Yeah, and Tim and Chris, before we get to your points, we got George D. Metellus, because we got fans in the super chat. We got some comments to read. People are paying money to get these comments in. So, George, what do you got?
Yeah, Daryl Rogers with $10. Thanks for the super chat, Daryl. It says, the question is, where does Joshua go from here? Does the Wilder fight make sense now? I don't think so. Or does he wait to see the outcome of the Fury-Usyk fight? Daryl Rogers on the super chat there. So thank you, Daryl, for that. So what do you guys think? What's next for Joshua? And essentially, does he wait for the winner of Fury versus Usyk? Tim, what do you think? Tim, do you think that where does Joshua go from here? And does he just wait for the Fury Usyk fight, and the winner of that, Joshua takes on Fury or Usyk?
Joshua is a real player in the game now. You know, I've been waiting on this Joshua to come back. It's been some years since, you know, I've seen this type of resiliency, power, speed, technique. I mean, Joshua looked like a real player in the heavyweight division. And I can just tell you this, that the heavyweight division now has to be rearranged. With this performance right here, Joshua now has creeped up there, probably top 2 or 3 right there. Of course, Usyk, you got Fury at the top, but he's right there now. And, you know, many people before this fight was going to even happen, including myself, thought that Deontay Wilder was going to knock out Joshua just based upon this mindset, lack of confidence. Well, he showed tonight, people, activity, being in the gyms, all these trainer switches we be talking about, saying that that's not good for you and so on and so forth. It was great for Joshua. Absolutely great. So just to answer your question, my fan out there, or the fan out there, he can do anything he wants to do. I wouldn't mind seeing him get in the ring against Deontay Wilder, although he lost. But I think that Parker is going to be the guy he's going to have to get in the ring with, because the winner, Wilder, was supposed to beat Parker so this fight can happen. But since that didn't happen, now I would say Joseph Parker is the guy that needs to face next.
Tim, so I'm gonna piggyback off what you just said. So Joshua just showed up and he became the guy that we all wanted, right? I'm a huge Anthony Joshua fan. I have been for a very long time. He's let me down a lot recently, but he showed up tonight with resolve. He showed up with a game plan. He was locked in. It was very, very impressive. He looked like a top level master boxer tonight against a southpaw as well. So he came out there, he bloodied his nose immediately. Wallin. I was like, well, okay. I thought the jab, which was something that Joshua was only doing in his last couple fights. He was a jab dominant fighter, but wasn't following up with anything. Tonight, he used that jab as a weapon, and he was able to bust up the nose of Wallin and then to land the right hand. And you said that move that he does, that move that he used, or maybe Paulie, you said that. That he used, that pull they used on Charles was, I mean, that's a bad move for a southpaw, and he was looking for that all night long. He's been there before. He has a very deep bag, does Anthony Joshua, and he showed it tonight, and that is why we've all been excited about him for, I mean, his entire career. He's back now. You said it, Tim. Like, I can see him with everybody now.
Yes,
I was concerned. I was like, I think Anthony Joshua's past his prime. Tonight, with the level of discipline that he showed, how sharp he was, how dedicated he was to the game plan for the fight against a southpaw, Wallin's not a slouch. He made him look bad. That was super impressive. So for me, I agree with you, Tim. Like, he's back. He's back. He's in the top now. And then also Wilder putting on the performance he did, it really puts Joshua right back into the mix of the top 3 guys at heavyweight. So I want to see him with everybody now again. And I don't disagree with you. I think with him, the fight with Wilder still makes sense. I still want to see that fight. For the first time in my life, I'm actually going to side with Joshua if he fights Wilder. And I'm back to where I think that Joshua could potentially beat everyone in the heavyweight division, whether it's Usyk or Wilder or Fury. I want to see him with everybody now, because he put that type of performance against a guy, Otto Wallin. Listen, Otto Wallin's not the guy. He's not the top 5 guy, but he's a very tough guy. And to be able to defeat him the way that he did shows that Joshua's on another level. And he's at the level where he can fight any one of those guys. And we can all argue and debate about why Joshua deserves to be in any one of those fights. So I'm for it. Put him in with everybody now.
Okay,
Joshua, he's
Paulie.
back.
I'm
Paulie.
gonna give my 2 cents, and my 2 cents is no holds barred all the time, and I'm gonna give it now. Okay,
As
so
usual.
first off, AJ definitely is back. I agree with the champs. AJ's back. I love the way he looked. I went into that already. Second of all, I didn't want to see him fight Wilder before. I
You
didn't care
said
about
that from the
before.
beginning.
Okay, now I definitely don't want to.
Do you not now?
Let's not. I don't want to see him fight Wilder. Wilder.
Well, you don't want to see him before because you're going to get knocked
the other
out.
way around.
What about
Okay,
now?
yeah. No, now I don't want to see it because I don't want to see Wilder. Okay, Wilder, the way Wilder
Okay,
just
so-
showed up for
so-
the check, I don't need to see that.
So it's
fight.
a flip. It's a
And
flip on what
also
you
a
thought.
yes, complete shift around. Exactly. It's a complete disrespect that Wilder looked the way he looked like that. It's a complete disrespect to guys like Dubois, Ergovich, Zhang, who are hanging around
Ergovich is
the
a
heavyweight
badass.
picture, who are hanging around the heavyweight picture looking for a big shot and deserving of a big shot. And Dubois, even after tonight's performance, and won't get it. But Wilder off this will get it instead. What kind of example and precedent will we be setting? Okay, we're trying to force this fight that wouldn't have been good even in the last few years. Now it's not going to be good for the other reason, okay? Even Wilder, okay? Wilder was always limited, but he had the big power because he was hungry. It displayed itself because he was hungry. He made sure that power set itself up somehow, some way. Now he's not even hungry, so he doesn't even have the desire to set it up anymore. He just thinks he's going to throw it and get somebody out of there. Otherwise, whatever. I'll go to points and I'll lose. He clearly accepted it tonight. I don't want to see that guy. I don't want to. And like I said,
So, all right, so Paul, who do you want next?
Like the Ergovich, Dubois, and Zhang, who are hanging around the heavyweight picture, are fun fighters to watch. They should get a chance at Joshua. Also, with the question from the fan, does he wait for Usyk and Fury? Guys, Usyk and Fury's in February. He's gonna wait for him anyway. What do you think? The guy's gonna fight before Usyk and Fury fight? No. So he's obviously waiting for Usyk and Fury regardless. If Fury wins that fight, you know what? You have a major showdown, an all British showdown for heavyweight supremacy. That fight automatically becomes making the most sense if Fury's able to beat Usyk. If Usyk beats Fury, well, you know what? He's at the top undisputed because he's already got 2 wins over Joshua, and then he would have beaten Fury. So, but if Fury wins this fight against Usyk, which he could very well, get a focused Fury, he's a dangerous Fury, especially the size that he's got. Fury versus Joshua is a major fight. But again, you can't mention Wilder with the amount of heavyweights that there are in the heavyweight division that are quality.
Yeah.
Wilder right now, not after this performance.
Paulie,
respect to Zhang, Ergovich, and Dubois, who deserve the money and deserve the paydays and deserve the opportunities. You can't keep putting the guys out. This is what happened in the welterweight division. We kept talking about Spence and Crawford, and then it kept getting pushed back. No, man. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. You gotta let the cycle keep going. You gotta let the division shuffle itself. And right now, it's shuffling itself. AJ deserves to be in the mix, not Wilder.
I love you for your perspective, and you're right. Boxing, you love boxing. You're talking about the love of boxing, but what happens next? Ultimately,
what happens now next? Okay, right now, what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen next.
Okay,
we're going to wait for Fury. We're going to wait for Fury Usyk. If Fury wins, AJ versus Fury makes
There
sense.
you go.
Not gonna happen.
But does AJ wait?
There's a rematch
does AJ
clause.
fight Wilder first?
There's rematch clause already.
Does AJ Wilder happen first before AJ Fury?
Wilder has to get in. For Wilder to be considered for any kind of fight like this, Wilder has to get in and beat an Ergovich or a Zhang or something. No shot he can just get the Joshua fight or the heavyweight.
No shot says who?
Bro, you want to see that guy again? Well, you just watched tonight. You want to see that guy again?
I'm not talking about what I want or what you want. I'm talking about, does it happen?
You're talking about market.
We gotta talk about
market. That's what you're talking about, Chris. You're talking about
yes,
the market.
We gotta talk about the right thing.
Yes.
Somebody got to be the the Italian mafia has the consigliere. Somebody needs to be the consigliere for the Saudi guys. They have all the money,
please
but they need
jump
to
in
Hey
here.
guys, let me throw a name out. Tim. Jared Anderson. I'm throwing a new name that hasn't been mentioned tonight. Is he ready for any of these guys at the top? Fury.
Make Deontay fight Jared Anderson. If you know what, make Deontay
There's
fight
a name.
Because make Deontay fight Jared.
Yeah. I think Jared Anderson is ready for anybody at the top level.
I
So
agree with
there's
all of you. But Tim, market value, does he get that fight?
No,
exactly.
No, Jared Anderson with market value will not get that fight. But I'll tell you who will get that fight with Joshua, a Deontay Wilder.
So Tim,
And that shows you
that's my point, Tim.
This is what kills boxing. If you're gonna go make that fight, you're gonna chase the money, make that fight. It's gonna be a dud, and everybody's gonna complain about it. And everybody's gonna say, "This is why we don't watch boxing. This is why we don't."
I don't think that fight's gonna be a dud. Actually, I think
it's gonna suck.
I don't think it's gonna suck. I think.
But the one that's deserving of it is Parker right now. Parker is deserving of it. He came into this fight. Unfortunately, his fourth fight this year, and he dominated Deontay Wilder, and he should get a shot at Joshua. He should.
Parker
get a shot at
is
Joshua.
the
But they
dark
already
A
fought.
rematch,
They
a
already
rematch,
fought.
a
They already
rematch.
fought though. But they already.
I know a rematch.
Paulie.
Do it again.
What about this?
Paulie.
Okay. No, I'm gonna give one last chance. I'm gonna give. Okay, we're gonna.
I
make
like when Paulie's fired up.
If Fury beats Usyk, okay, we got Fury versus AJ,
gonna happen.
and then we can make. And then I know you got the rematch clause, but let's just say for argument's sake, and then you make Usyk versus Parker. Usyk versus Parker.
I like that fight.
And maybe is the rematch immediate rematch clause, Tim? Because maybe we can fit in between fight before.
I don't want to see Wilder Parker again.
No,
I don't.
No.
I don't think anyone does.
I
But
think
Paulie,
I think it's immediate rematch. I think it's in the clause for both guys. So
Paulie, I want to
wins. It's going to be a rematch.
You know
Fury
what, Tim? You're right. It's one of those 2-fight deals, right? It's one of those they
Yeah.
sign a 2-fight deal.
See,
One of
this is
one of those
where
new
the
games.
business side that people on the outside don't understand. Contracts.
But however, if they do the rematch,
Mhm.
there's going to be some stripping going on. And when I say stripping, I think the IBF is going to strip, the winner. And I think that's going to be Herkovich. Herkovich is going to fight for that.
Herkovich.
He's already
Hey,
in line
listen.
for it.
Herkovich was in soft tonight, but Herkovich is good. He is
guys,
a
you know
he's
who
a
we haven't
bad
talked
dude.
about yet was
Who's that?
Daniel Dubois, who resurrected
Yeah.
his career. But before we get to that, Paul, you brought up Saudi Arabia and boxing, and we've been talking a lot. Are they good for boxing? They put on these fights. They've got Fury and Usyk. And Paul, you brought up a good point in a text earlier. You know, this fight, there weren't mega fights on this card, but you got a huge upset on the card, and it was
Two of
Saudi.
them. Makhmudov got stopped. Makhmudov
Right,
was
two
favored.
upsets,
Was
you're
made
right.
Man, dude, he
favorite.
got his ass kicked.
Two big upsets that the matchmaking brought. So it was a lot.
I saw that
A lot of
coming.
the fights went the way we expected, but
I
we
did
had
too, Tim.
two huge upsets. We got Fury and Usyk coming up. Devin Haney was there talking about a fight he might be fighting in Saudi. They talked about maybe having Bivol and Beterbiev fighting. So
Yeah.
they seem to have a lot in the pipeline, Paulie. A lot of good fights that people want to see.
I think the reason I believe the Saudis are good for boxing is because there's money in Saudi Arabia that doesn't exist anywhere else. So the hurdles that are created between promotional boundaries and network boundaries can be overcome by money, because we've seen them be overcome by money. When the money is enough, the promotional and network boundaries are overcome, and with those fights that get made, but there has to be enough money in the pot, right? So thanks to the Saudis, there is enough money there, because the Saudis have it, to overcome those boundaries and create major fights that otherwise would have hurdles because of the politics of the sport. For example, you got like the 140-pound division. You can mix and match all those fights. Right now, you can because of the politics and networking of the sports. But with the Saudi money, you can bring all those 140-pounders there, and you make that kind of fight, those kind of fights. You know what I mean? But I believe the Saudis need some counselors or some guidance so that they know where to spend their money. Because look, the fact that you were, again, you guys are going to disagree with me with Wilder and Joshua. The fact that you were thinking Wilder and Joshua was a fight to make, even before this, with so much possibilities to raise boxing's profile with young phenoms who can become more megastars by fighting each other. And instead, we're going to we were going to continue to try to recycle a fight that was past its peak about 4 years ago. You know, that's not the way to spend all the money. Think about with the money you would have looked to spend on AJ against Wilder, you could have created an entire 140-pound tournament, and everybody went for it, and all the networks would have been made to be happy. We would have overcome the political landscape of that. You know, the Saudi money has a possibility to help boxing, but it's got to be guided in the right direction. It's got to be guided in the right direction. And with guys like Haney going there and kids like that, it's good that they network over there. It's good that they get to let themselves be known. But those are the only kind of money that you can have to overcome those political boundaries is going to come from Saudi Arabia. That's why.
Paulie, great point. Let's be realistic though. This card never happens anywhere else but Saudi.
Yeah. Yep.
Getting
That's my point,
heavyweights,
right?
Getting heavyweights to fight each other on an entire card is so expensive. The American promoters and machine would never allow that to happen. But the Saudis did that. They financed that. Everyone loves listen, everyone loves heavyweights. That's why the first fights of the card, it was like 9 rounds. It was 3 fights.
It was
We had 2 first-round knockouts. We had a 7-round knockout. They were great knockouts. So we got that. The first half of this card was they just ran through knockouts. People love that. So sure, that's great. But we like matchups. We like fights, right? So for the casual fans, they love knockouts. They love heavyweights. They love guys knocking each other out. But real fans of boxing like good matchups. and they want good fights. And we didn't get a whole lot of that in the early card. And I said it was weird. This card to me looked lopsided. So we had the 2 main event cards, the co-main and the main, that were very competitive fights that we didn't know who was essentially going to win at the end of the day. We had Joshua Wallin, which is a tough fight. We had Deontay and Parker, which obviously turned out to be an upset. And then the whole undercard was all upsets. It was all not upsets, rather. They were all one-sided fights.
One-sided fight.
It should have been the other way around. We should have had a bunch of really tough competitive fights early on, and then the main event, which was leading into our March fight, lead up, be not as tough. But listen, that's boxing.
I feel like it made it more fun, though. I feel like that makes it more fun. I don't want to see fights where I know who's gonna win.
But why not make the undercard fun too? Why not make a good card top to bottom?
Guys, I got to wait for us to have some fun right now. George D. Metellus is in the studio with some more super chats, George.
I'm not done with this. I'm coming back.
Okay, cool, Chris, because, the super chat, the chat is blowing up with everything you guys are saying. Let's run through these super chats. We'll get back to you real quick. We got G. Jesus 051 says, don't know why everyone questioned AJ when he had only lost to Usyk and Ruiz. Usyk is a generational talent, and Ruiz has qualities like hand speed and a chin, and even then schooled him in the rematch. And then Dogface for $5, showing you some love, Paulie. He says, yo, Paulie, you always fire me up, so give me some of that Brooklyn energy and tell me what I should know before attempting to become a fighter. And then to your point about Saudi Arabia, L. Lee says, Saudi Arabia wins boxing. Keenan Van Zyl says, Saudi appreciates fights sports. So there you have it. So that's some of the
before attempting to become a fighter, you got to commit mentally to the fact that it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. The first thing comes from that commitment, understanding that, so that when you have hard days and you have difficult days in the gym, which inevitably come when you're committed to something like that, you are able to overcome them and return every single day. The first step is understanding that it's the hardest thing you've ever done.
I'm going to add to that. However hard you think it is, it's way fucking harder. However hard you think it is way harder.
Just get used to pain. That's it. That's all I'm saying. You just gotta get
comfortable. Get comfortable, Tim. Get comfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
And do it passionately. Because if you don't love it, despite the difficulties, if you don't love it, you'll never be able to do it. Something that
there should be no question. If it is the thing that you love, there is no question.
You know what? To that point, and I'll go to you, Tim, about Daniel Dubois. But when you talk about passion, Deontay Wilder in his post-fight interview, he sounded like a happy guy. Paulie, you said that. He sounded like a guy that didn't want to fight anymore. He said he wasn't sure. So, throw that out there too. He didn't sound like a guy who really wanted to step into the ring. And when he fought, he showed that he didn't really want to fight that night. But Tim, Daniel Dubois, he seems to have rejuvenated his career. I mean, he beat down Jarrell Big Baby Miller and knocked him out in the 10th.
Man, it was the cheater versus the quitter. I was saying to myself, I was like, I don't know who's gonna win this fight. Is it gonna be the cheater or is it gonna be the quitter? So but then I thought about it, I said, you know what, the quitter is actually gonna win the fight because the cheater has to cheat. He's not
There's
going to
no drugs. So.
Okay. What'd you say?
There's no drugs. Drugs work.
I'm just saying, you say drugs work, but at the same time, a lot of people that use the drugs, they don't want to do the work. They don't want to put in that hard work to
take out the drugs.
Versus somebody that actually does it right and trains hard.
I disagree. I disagree, Tim. The guys that cheat do it to work harder because it's harder to overtrain. It's harder to overtrain.
That's what you think. But see, for me, mentally, when I fought, let me shut up because I don't want to get sued. But when I fought somebody, when I fought somebody in 2015,
Tim, I know what you're saying. Tim, I know what you're saying.
What he on, because whatever he's on, it ain't gonna work because I know how hard I work at the end of the damn day. So psychologically, for me, it helped me because I'm like, you need something to help you get ahead. I don't need that.
Tim, I remember my strength coach saying like, "Hey, this guy's on shit," and I go, "Yeah." And I go, all right, I'm gonna do 15 push-ups instead of 10. I'm gonna do 30 crunches instead of 15. Like, yeah, no, I feel you, Tim.
And one more thing.
And that's why I love you, bro. I love you.
And one more thing, to the fan that was talking about AJ looked good tonight. He did.
Yes.
But in his previous fights, after he suffered those losses, you know he was struggling mentally with confidence. AJ has been a winner his entire life. Like, things come easy for AJ. Phenomenal football player. Whatever he touched, it just turned to gold. You know, and he finally was he was face to face with adversity when he suffered his first loss. He was somewhat embarrassed. He bounced back, but he wasn't the same. It took him a while to get to the point where he's at now. He's now confident now, because you got to understand, he's never had to go through adversity. Everything came easy to him. This dude started boxing late, became an Olympic gold medalist, you know, got to the championship quick. He was holding down 3 straps. I mean, this dude done it all. And then all of a sudden, he gets hit in the face. He gets lost. He loses. And he's like, I've never been here before. I don't know how to deal with this. You know, so it took them some time to gain his confidence back. A few trainers. He fought Usyk. He did very well. He felt that he needed to improve his boxing skills. So he got with Derek James, and he got with my man Garcia. And now I think he's with the right guy now. Ben Davison. Did a phenomenal job with him. And the fact that he stayed busy the whole entire year is the reason why he looks so damn sharp.
Busy.
He's finally got the recipe. He finally got the recipe, man. And if he continues to be this way, he's going to be a dominant force once again in the heavyweight division.
Well, Paulie, what about Daniel Dubois? Where does he rate in the heavyweight picture now with that? I mean, he was dominant tonight. He was dominant over Jarrell Miller.
I like the win he got tonight. I think he puts himself into the heavyweight picture. I wouldn't mind seeing him with, say, an Andy Ruiz type of opponent. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see him again. I don't necessarily need to see him in a title fight right now, you know, but he certainly put himself back into the proper position. And you know, an Andy Ruiz type of opponent for Dubois would be I think, a fun and interesting fight.
Yeah, Tim, Dubois, you know, calling a fighter a quitters, I mean, there's not much worse than that when you call a fighter a quitter. And Dubois, he was called a quitter, and what he did tonight has to show something.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I look at these guys psychologically, all right? And I say quitter. Quitter might be a harsh word, but what else am I going to say? What's another word that I can use?
I'm not talking about you. I mean, the boxing world was saying it.
But what I'm telling you is that the same thing happened to Joshua. Same thing happened to Dubois. He's trying to get his mojo back. He's trying to get his confidence back. After he suffered that loss, you know, he was never the same after that. Mental fog, trying to get his feet. Man, he had a fight, I think, shortly after that. He actually knocked the guy out, but he went down like 3 times in the first, I think it was in the first round or so. And I was like, man, this guy, like, anytime he feels pressure, he folds under pressure.
Yeah.
So when he fought against Usyk and he was doing extremely well, you know, granted, that wasn't a low blow. That was a perfect shot. But as he started feeling the pressure from Usyk, and Usyk kept fighting back, what did he do? He looked for the exit. So I know, I'm a fighter. I know when a guy is looking for an exit. And he got dropped by a jab. So,
Tim, are you saying that Miller never put him in that position to
never
push
put him
to
in
where
that
he
position? Never took him down memory lane. Miller is fat and lazy. He's 300 and something pounds, lazy, likes to use drugs, try to cut corners. There was no way he was going to beat Dubois. And Dubois never put him down memory lane. He never put that pressure on him. At least he tried. But he couldn't sustain that pace.
I'm going to put it this way. We got 3 world champions here. None of us were gifted with power the way that a lot of these guys are, right? Am I getting agreement from you guys?
Yeah.
We're not that guy. So
I had my head though. I had my head.
Yeah, hey Tim, you still do. But listen, so a guy like Dubois, I learned tonight or today, that guy can punch. He's got power. So he can always go back to that. We didn't have that. We're all 3 of us right here. We always had to go back to our balls and our nuts and our technique. You know, a lot of these guys don't have to do that. They can come back and make their career extend. Different thing for us. Different thing for guys who need to really dig down, the Andre Wards of the world, who have to really dig in and go with their technique. The guys that are not these heavyweight punchers who can always fight long beyond what you would expect from them. It's a different thing. And Dubois, I think, showed that tonight. So I thought Dubois was done, but listen, I saw tonight, that guy can punch. That guy can really punch. Jarrell is a very tough guy. Obviously, he had drugs on his side. He's also a big guy, but he showed tonight he's not at that level. But Dubois showed that his punch is on the level. He boxed well. His punch was strong enough to keep the Jarrell on his toes. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a guy that everyone can deal with. I don't think he's the top level guy in the heavyweight division, but he's dangerous enough to stick around. So
Dubois ain't gonna do a damn thing in the division.
I agree. He's not that guy, but he can punch.
I'm just letting you know right now. Miller was just the right guy for him.
You don't think he can be fun?
No, listen, Miller was not the right guy for anybody. Miller is a guy who was big and heavy and was using steroids, and now the drugs are off. Hey, listen, guess what, guys? Drugs work because he threw less than 50 punches around when he used to throw 100. So without that ability to throw a lot of punches, he ain't that guy. But I did see from Dubois tonight, he does hit hard enough. He hits hard. So he'll be there, and he'll be someone's next defeat.
I think a guy like Dubois, I think a guy like Dubois can still fit in and make fun fights. Listen, it's not always about the heavyweight championship. That's why I've said before, you got to let the heavyweight division shuffle so that the guys get their chances and fight each other and make it fun. You know what I mean? Remember, this is still entertainment. I know sometimes we fall into the pitfall of bringing up big names. Oh, we want to see the big names fight each other. But if we allow these other fighters, these other top contenders to fight in the mix, it makes it fun. Not everyone's going to be a world champion, but it makes it fun. And that the Dubois of the world, I don't think they'll win a world title, but they can be fun. You know what I mean? Dubois against Jared or a Ruiz. You know, like you make some you think about matchups and you're like, oh, these could be fun fights. You still want to see them. And I think they come into play. Even Dubois maybe against Parker. You know what I'm saying? Like you still want to see this kind of thing, man. And so allowing the division to breathe and reshuffle itself in that way, I think is important because this way you keep creating many other possibilities in fights. And also, I want to bring up one point, a soap opera-esque type of situation. Does AJ stay with Ben Davidson?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Now, what if Fury beats Usyk? Is Ben Davidson going to be in the corner against his old fighter? AJ versus Fury with Davidson.
It's some storyline.
Absolutely.
Well, you're making drama now.
I'm just thinking about the soap opera.
That's boxing.
The TMZ of boxing, you know?
But we got George D. Metellus. Tim, hold that thought. George D. Metellus has some more super chats. George, fire away.
Yeah, we got some super chats here. Shout out to Troll Bader because he is sending us a super chat from Sweden with Swedish krona, 50 Swedish krona, which comes out to about $5. And Troll Bader says, Ben Davidson, you talked about Ben Davidson, creates game plans for Devin Haney behind the scenes in junction with Bill Haney. So Troll Bader dropping that knowledge. And then Jay Martin from Canada, 5 Canadian, which is George and Champs, you guys are the best. Keep up the amazing job. I'm watching from Nova Scotia, Canada. I would love to see more tournament-style boxing. So shout out to Jay Martin.
The Saudis have that money. The Saudis have that money to create that.
Yep. And Jefe Al Dente says, by the way, best talks. Love this show. So you guys, we're getting people from all over the world to chime in on this chat and talk about this day of reckoning in Saudi Arabia.
You imagine we had the World Boxing Super Series where these fights were going on in different parts of the world, in different casinos of the world. The Saudis have enough money to create a World Boxing Super Series in Saudi Arabia, bring all the fights there, and you can have the tournament right there. You know what I mean? The guys keep advancing. They go back to Saudi Arabia, fight again. You can keep creating the World Boxing Super Series in Saudi Arabia. And tell me, wasn't that tournament fun every single time? Was it not fun every single time?
Absolutely.
Did you ever get it done in the World Boxing Super Series?
It's not about fun. It's about creating the best matchups possible.
Yeah, and
well, you said fun, which is the side effect.
Well, it's the entertainment side of it, right? So
if you make the best guys fight each other, it becomes fun for the fans. So if the World Super Series, like you said, especially 140, that was a really, really fun tournament, and we got some of the best fighters. We got pound for pound guys out of that. So if we can do that on a consistent basis, which the Saudis can actually make happen because they jump over all the hurdles that there are on this side of the world for that reason. Yeah, I agree. I think that the Saudis are actually the key to making the fights that we need.
And Chris, it brings a springboard, because look at what came of the World Boxing Super Series in the cruiserweight division. You created a springboard for Alexander Usyk to win the undisputed cruiserweight title, and then go on to the heavyweight division. You create stars, exactly. And so in boxing, instead of trying to because boxing is a bad habit, man. They try to manufacture their stars. They try to pick one. They say, okay, we're gonna make this guy a star, and they try to fit a square peg into a round hole constantly. Bro.
Meritocracy has been
so annoying. You know what I mean? But the Super Series creates stars on its own. Naoya Inoue came out of the Super Series. Alexander Usyk came out of Alexander Usyk came out of the Super Series. Granted, Josh Taylor ended up falling off after the Super Series win, but nonetheless, his matchup with Teofimo Lopez was highly anticipated because he was a Super Series champion against Lopez, who had been an ex unified lightweight champion. You know, like, you create dynamite with this type of tournament boxing. So that fan makes a great point when he says, I love tournament boxing. We should really, if anybody has the ability and the potential to create tournament boxing consistently, which then, like you said, Champ, enforces the best matchups possible, it is the Saudis with their money. And you don't need to have it in some casino in Moscow or some casino in Eastern Europe or some casino in Vegas or some casino where you have different matchups in different cities. You can have every single round of the tournament happen in Saudi Arabia with the Saudi Arabian money, and people will love it.
Yeah. Tim, we had a great year this year, right? What are we missing?
What are we missing?
Heavyweight.
Yeah, this year, 2023. What was missing?
Tournaments.
Heavyweights.
I would say the heavyweight undisputed championship was the only thing on my agenda. That fight, I would say another fight would be we'll love to see Canelo and Benavidez go at
Benavidez.
See that fight as well.
But I meant in general for like the health of the sport. What are we really missing this year that we didn't?
You're talking the big boys. You're talking heavyweight.
This year was fantastic, right?
We
had a great year. But what was missing was heavyweights, and the Saudis created a heavyweight not tournament, but like a card tonight, and that was great.
And the last time we were there, was a heavyweight card as well.
Guys, you know what? My brain is flowing right now. My brain is racking, and I'm thinking about something. We're talking about World Boxing Super Series.
All these brains racking, we're going.
Saudis love heavyweight. You know where we're going with this? We're going with a heavyweight tournament of the World Boxing Super Series. Everything in Saudi Arabia. Can you imagine? The Saudis love the heavyweights to begin with. Create a World Boxing Super Series tournament in Saudi Arabia, dude. And you can even add, you can find 7 top heavyweights, and then just as a wild card, you know who we throw in because people love him after what he did. Ngannou. You throw Ngannou with 7 top heavyweights plus Ngannou. You have mayhem, dude.
It's over.
Saudi Arabia would love it, and everybody would tune in. And the Saudis also, we know they love their heavyweights, and that's only Saudi money can create this kind of thing, bro. That's the one, and it's something we haven't had in 2023. Is the big boys fighting each other, right? So that's the one. That's the one right there. World Boxing Super Series, Saudi Arabia, 2024. The Saudis have the money. We know they're good for boxing in terms of the money and the financial aspect of it, and the fact that they have the potential to make all these fights. But this is the one. If anybody can do it, they can get this done.
But why do we just have to the heavyweights? Why can't we do the 140-pound weight division?
That's what I say. Open it up. Saudi should open it up.
I'm trying to ease into it.
Dude.
Champ, I'm trying to ease into it because they love heavyweights. So I'm just trying to ease into it. Of course, I'm 140-pound Super Series.
But I mean, come on now. All those at 140, even 135 would be high.
Well, Tim, let me wrap up something with Joshua, because you guys talked about how the heavyweight division is kind of on lockdown with Fury and Usyk because there's a rematch clause. So they're wrapped up for pretty much the whole year. Definitively, what do you think is next for AJ? I know we talked about it 45 minutes ago, but he's not going to get those guys, Tim. You pointed that out, but he's going to want to stay active. You guys have said activity is the key, and he's been active this year. So he's not going to get a heavyweight shot next. So AJ, what makes sense for him? What's his next fight?
He has to rematch Parker. This is a different Parker we're seeing. This is not the same Parker. This is a guy with a ton of experience now. You know, a guy that's confident, a guy that's been busy just as well as AJ has been busy. They're on the crash course. They got to fight each other, man. You know, because if Wilder was supposed to win this fight, they were supposed to see each other. So now you have Parker that, you know, messed up the apple cart. Check it out. Let him fight AJ. I want to see it. I want to see if he can beat AJ now. This former Parker.
They could both be in the Super Series tournament. They could both be in it. Maybe they'll fight there. Maybe they fight either way. Like, I don't mind the Joshua Parker rematch. I get
it. But you got a Super 6 tournament when we have an undisputed class.
No, World Box Super Series 8 guys.
But I understand that. But what I'm telling you is that you got this new crop that's coming in. Yes, I can see it with the new crop. but we got an undisputed championship coming. You know, with Usyk and freaking Fury. So if there's no
we've got
belts
undisputed
attached to
coming.
it, then what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean,
And they made that 2-fight deal, which blows everything.
yeah.
All right, well, Paulie, I got two super chats. I got two super chats.
You cut me
One-
off, George. Okay, go ahead. Super chats.
Chris, hold that point. But we got Andre Rodriguez says, cheers from Portugal. Congrats to ProBox for all the great events and to the champs in the panel for the great content. Long live the sweet science. And
Thanks,
Ryan
bud.
Shepard says, if you could create a Super Series tournament in any division, which division would you choose and who wins? Paulie, minus the heavyweights, what would be the Super Series tournament you'd make?
140-pound division, like Tim said. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I think Teofimo Lopez is the best one. I think he gets
Yeah.
up big moments. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see the 140-pound division tournament. But go
Chris,
ahead.
I'm sorry I cut you off. Chris, you had a point you wanted to make before the Super Chats. You're muted.
Come on, Chris, get it right.
Your mic is muted, Chris.
That's actually good because I was cursing a lot, so now it's not on the chat.
Woosa. Bad boys, Martin Lawrence, Woosa.
Zhang.
Oh,
Yes.
Zhang.
He has
Yeah.
the English. He has the English.
who should he fight? That makes so much sense, dude. Oh my gosh.
Zhang.
Yes.
Guys.
But however, do you do that fight in Saudi or do you do that fight in China?
Oh,
Tim.
seems like
Read
it's
my mind.
China.
Come on, Tim.
Okay, so then you got to make Parker
Tim,
and Ergovich.
I always knew you were smart.
See, do you do it in China?
No, you do it in
or
China.
Saudi? Come
or
on.
like Trump calls it, China.
China.
Yeah.
Listen, Zhang deserves it.
I agree.
Zhang deserves it, and it's a good fight. I mean, what else do we ask for?
It is.
Yes,
It's a great matchup.
I just ask Ergovich doesn't get put in the backbone and the back burner.
Yeah.
Hey, put him on the undercard. Put him on the card. Put
against Parker.
Zhang. Okay, so we do Zhang. We do Zhang Joshua undercard Wilder Hergovich.
Okay.
We
Right?
got some juice, guys,
Sold.
in the heavyweight division.
Sold.
We've got some juice back, some
Sold.
electricity in the heavyweight division.
I know,
Tim.
Paulie, you're normally the matchmaker. I'm taking the reins today.
You got. You know what? I support this.
Okay,
I'm sold. I'm
Let's
sold.
bring-
let's work. Let's work, gentlemen.
Can we bring in some fresh blood? Like, you know, can we bring in like F.A. Jagba and Anderson and
We
you
can-
know
we got the real big baby. That's your
we put
new
them on the
blood.
undercard. We put them on the undercard.
Jared Anderson
Fight
against
each other.
Ruiz. Jared Anderson against Ruiz.
oh what
And
and,
then
what about what my
and
guy just
Dubois.
fought? Is it Sanchez?
Sanchez look good
Yeah,
tonight.
Frank,
Yeah.
Frank
Really
Sanchez
good.
against
Fought too.
Frank Sanchez against Dubois.
Explosive, dangerous, good right hand. Ooh,
Sanchez.
he looked good
Listen,
tonight.
we got George DiMattalis. You know, we got some fights coming up in January on ProBox, the 2024 debut. So George DiMattalis has some news for us in the studio.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be fantastic here with the fights that we have here on ProBox TV, the first edition of Wednesday Night Fights, January 17th here on ProBox TV. By the way, somebody in the chat said ProBox Heavyweights, ProBox TV Heavyweights coming soon with a question mark. So we'll see. I don't know if ProBox gets into the heavyweight division and get into that.
It will.
We'll see. It's going to be fantastic.
With the help of the fans subscribing, we're gonna grow the channel more and more. We will.
Yeah, January 17th, the first Wednesday Night Fights of 2024. Let me read some quick comments here before we get back to the rest of the card here. There was Kennard Welch says Super Series at 147 since Bud probably isn't coming back down to 147. That's interesting. That's an interesting comment there. Joe Louis says Dubois versus Anderson in terms of a heavyweight matchup.
Anderson stops him.
Anderson stops him?
Okay.
Stops him.
I want to see it. I want to see the fight.
How about
Stop him.
Ergovich versus Dubois?
Jared is a little bit emotional himself, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Stops.
All right, I want to see it. I'm sold on it. I want to see the
All
fight.
right.
And then our Swedish friend says Ergovich versus Dubois, since they both won tonight. That kind of makes sense as a heavyweight eliminator. What do you guys
Ergovich
think?
stops him too.
Stops him. Stops.
Stops
Tim
him.
is not a Dubois fan.
Easy
Ergovich-
word.
Ergovich is nasty, bro. Ergovich is being really ignored for no reason, man.
Once you show me that tail, man, it's hard for me to get back on.
I could see 'cause every time they
hard for me to
mention
get back
Dubois'
on.
name, Tim, every time we mention Dubois' name, I can see you roll your eyes, and I get it. I mean,
It's hard for me to get back on. I'm sorry. You should tell me that tell, because once a quitter, always a quitter in my
right.
eyes. So,
Hey, I want to mention something else on December 27th. We just did a first part of our top 6 fights on ProBox TV, and we went over our top 3 prospects. So in our first show, we gave you fights 6, 5, and 4. December 27th on ProBox TV, we're giving you 3, 2, and 1, the top 3 fights on ProBox TV. A great year, 2023. It's going to be an even better year, Paulie, 2024 ProBox TV.
Yeah, guys, and it's free. So get the app and subscribe so you guys don't miss out on anything. Our talk shows, our fights, our live fights. We've got this list of our top fights we've had on ProBox TV in 2023. Definitely, you guys should check it out just so you guys can understand the kind of fights that we have here on ProBox TV. Our first show being January 17th. We look forward to rolling out the new year with some great fights as has become our custom here at ProBox TV. So subscribe, get the app. It's free. That way you guys are always on point with the latest boxing news and the best boxing card, and of course cards and of course all the talk shows with everything we've got. I don't think it's worth it to be a boxing fan and not have this app, because again, it does cost you anything. It's free, and the more you guys grow ProBox TV, the more subscriptions we get, the more we can do for boxing, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to grow this channel and do more as much as we can for boxing, and it allows us, the more subscriber base we have, we get more advertisers, we get more sponsors, and this way we can grow the channel and get even more bring more impact to the sport of boxing through this channel. So we really appreciate all the support you guys have given us, and check out the best of ProBox TV this year. Check out on December 27th. Check out the top 3 fights we've had. I don't think you guys will be disappointed, and I think you guys will understand why. It's yet another reason to subscribe, besides us, of course, the great talk shows we give you like this, besides us.
Well, that's what I was going to say. All you have to do is look at the screen, and I'm looking at champions and Hall of Famers. So there's no other reason to subscribe. I mean, that is the biggest reason to subscribe, and you're talking boxing. Guys, let's wrap it up. Get final thoughts on the card. Start with you, Tim. Your overall thoughts on the Day of Reckoning.
Hold up, Tim, before you go, let me just read one more super chat here because Dogface says, I won't forget your words, guys. Thanks for replying to me. Love to support you all. ProBox TV is the future. Y'all must have forgot talking about the audience. Good skills, guys. All right, Tim. I'm sorry about that, Tim. Go ahead.
No, it's all good, man. Big shocker for me tonight. I didn't expect Wilder to lose every single round like that. I expected him to might possibly be behind, but he always landed that big shot. I didn't feel that he went for it tonight. I felt that he showed up for a paycheck, just to be honest with you guys. I didn't see that fire in his eyes. AJ, wow. AJ looked phenomenal. I just got to say, I'm glad to see AJ back at full form. You guys don't understand how cerebral this sport truly is. I think it's more cerebral than it is physical. Sometimes, it's tough when you have some downfalls or you saw some pitfalls along the way. And you try to, you got to try to build yourself back up mentally. It's hard to get there, but I'm happy to see AJ finally got there. Man, he finally believes in himself again, and it showed in his fight tonight. So other than that, man, I appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching ProBox. I hate seeing when we got 100,000 views on the channel and we only got 80-something thousand subscribers. So come on, man, like hit that like button, hit that subscription button. Like Paulie said, it's free. Make sure stay in tune with us and hit that reminder button so you don't miss anything. But thank you guys for tuning in and supporting the channel.
Chris, how about you? You're muted, Chris. He must be cursing again. Final thoughts on the Day of Reckoning, Chris. Can't hear you. Well, we'll go to Paulie. Chris, you work out your mic. Paulie, your final thoughts on the Day of Reckoning.
I want to first start out by saying Wilder losing was a surprise, but I don't think of the performance of a 38-year-old guy who's been super successful in this business and has accomplished the things Wilder has done should take away from the accomplishments of his career overall. If this is the last we see of Deontay Wilder, and I think it should be the last we see of Deontay Wilder, because I think him putting on this kind of performance hurts the sport. I mean, I think his own legacy, is pretty secure. He's been a terrific champion, and he's been one of the more exciting fighters of his generation. But I think he's also got to be mature enough to be honest with himself that if he's going to have this kind of performance where he's okay with losing and he's not really going to push himself inside that ring the way he should when it comes time to go for broke and go for a win, then he's no longer has the same desire. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that at 38 years old, unless you choose to keep going back in the ring and doing it. Then there's something wrong with it. So I feel like I don't think this performance should take away from should demerit the merits of Deontay Wilder overall in his career. But at the same time, we've also got to give a lot of credit to Joseph Parker for a terrific performance, and it still counts as a big win for Parker because it's still a win over a Deontay Wilder who came in as an 8-1 favorite. So it's not easy to overcome that, even from a psychological perspective. And Parker fought great. AJ, loved the way he loved his mentality tonight. Bossed the ring, got in the center ring from the moment the bell rang, and was the boss. And that and took that mindset straight through the fight and looked terrific. And you know what? He deserves all the accolades he's going to get. He's always been a likable fighter. He's been a fighter that's easy to root for. And now he makes him even more easy to root for with a performance like this, where you want to see him in all the big fights. Big props to the Saudis for putting on a card like this. Big props to the Saudis for involving themselves in boxing the way they can and the way they are doing, because they are the ticket to making the biggest fights that have been very difficult to make. If they only get the guidance necessary to make the proper fights, I think boxing can blow up in Saudi Arabia. They have the ability, they have the money, and if they just have the proper know-how, this thing goes to the moon in Saudi Arabia, and boxing becomes Saudi Arabia becomes the major home of boxing and takes away from Vegas. So big props there as well. And I look forward to seeing more of Daniel Dubois, even though Tim is not a big fan. Philip Bergovich. Welcome back, Dimitri Bivol, after a year off. It was good to see him get back in there. Frank Sanchez, a nice win. You know, shout outs to all those guys. A big upset by Caballero over Makhmudov, and whatever else was on the card. I'm not thinking offhand. You know, it was a big card, and it was basically like a WWF WrestleMania card. It was like an 8-hour card.
You forgot to mention Bivol, man.
Bivol, we mentioned them. You know, we just mentioned them, Tim. You know, that we got to shine love on the fact that he stayed out a year and he got back in. I thought Lyndon Arthur didn't really try to win the fight, and that's why Bivol didn't get the stoppage. I know they were kind of criticizing Bivol about him not getting the stoppage. But bro, he had a guy in front of him who wasn't trying to win. Like, you got to bring that out too, more so than anything else. So I'll bring it out since the commentating team didn't bring it out. Bivol had a guy in front of him who wasn't trying to win, and that's why he didn't get him out of there, because Bivol came to make the fight the whole time and tried to make the fight and tried to press the action the way he's supposed to. Terrific card overall. I think, you know, listen, you had some mismatches there. You had some showcase fights, but you also had two big upsets. Makhmudov being upset and Wilder being upset. So it keeps the excitement going. Keep shifting the picture, the heavyweight picture and the overall picture in boxing. I look forward to more big-time boxing in 2024. I look forward to a big year from ProBox TV. So everybody subscribe so we can keep growing the channel, so you guys can continue to get the best of boxing from us. Download the app, not just subscribe. Download the app, guys. It's very important you download the app so we can keep growing, because if we grow, we can give you guys more of the best of what we got here at ProBox TV. And of course, I hope we get some kind of tournament. The Saudis bring us some kind of big tournament in 2024.
Be awesome.
Chris.
All right. So my mic is back on now. So
all right.
As someone I am a self-acclaimed master of brevity, I'm going to say, listen, thank you guys for tuning in. This card was great. The Saudis are doing amazing things that hopefully will help the sport throughout. Everyone should tune into ProBox TV, because you get exactly what you're looking at right now. This content is undeniable in every way, shape, and form. So if you're not involved with us, if you're not logged in, then I don't know what you're doing. But listen, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all of that from ProBox TV. Thanks for tuning in, and awesome fights tonight. So.
No, Chris Algieri had the last word. Yes, it has definitely been a great year. I do have one more super chat. Have to read this from J. Martin Boxing. Great job, guys, and George in the studio and remote as well. I'd love to see you guys do a show on each weight class as a super series. Merry Christmas. We do that show, Who's the Man? We do that show where we break down every division. So we've got that. We've got everything that the boxing fan needs. I just want to say a shout out to Larry Merchant, my former colleague at HBO Sports. He's in the hospital, but I'm hearing he's doing okay. Larry, we all know Larry Merchant. He's a big lover of boxing, so we hope that he's going to be okay. And guys, it has been a spectacular year in 2023, and it's going to be an even better year. We got, Tim Bradley, my favorite moment of the year with you, and I don't think we have the picture now, but we gave you something you wanted for your whole life. We gave you braids. We gave you braids, and I wish we had the picture up now, but to see the happiness on your face when you saw that picture, that was worth everything.
That's the same face right there. That's the same face.
So it's been a great year, guys, on ProBox. And like Paulie said, like Tim said, like Chris said, download the app, subscribe, because ProBox TV is your boxing channel.
And I'm gonna inhale a big bottle of hope from Tim Bradley for 2024. I'm optimistic for 2024.
There you go.
I ordered like 10
Bottle of
bottles
hope,
for
and
next
thanks
year.
to the Saudis. Bottle of hope inhalation for 2024.
Tim's got my money. I ordered a bunch of
ProBox TV.
It's too much, man.
good finish.
You guys are crazy, man. Hey, good shit, man.
Good
All right.
guys.
Good night, y'all.
All
right,
right, man.
fellas.
I'll holla at y'all, bro.
All right, guys. Take care.
Hell
Happy
yeah, that shit
holidays,
was
guys.
fun, bro.
Right.
That was good.